I finished Good to Great with one sentence still bouncing around in my head. Good is the enemy of great. The most dangerous place for a company may not be failure. It may be being good enough. Hi, I'm Alex. Welcome to One Book in 10 Minutes. Today I want to share why this book made me look differently at leadership, teams, and the quiet habits behind lasting success. Good results reduce urgency. A decent career, a decent team, or a decent business can keep running for years without forcing anyone to ask what greatness would require. That's the opening idea in Good to Great by Jim Collins, and it stayed with me because it applies far beyond large companies. Collins and his research team spent years comparing companies that made a sustained leap in performance with similar companies that did not. They were not looking for inspiring stories after the fact. They set strict criteria, examined decades of data, and tried to identify patterns that appeared consistently. Some examples in the book have aged better than others, and no business study can give us a permanent formula. But the underlying ideas are still remarkably useful. The kind of leader who creates lasting results, why people come before strategy, how to confront reality without losing hope, and why momentum is built through repeated pushes rather than one dramatic breakthrough. I want to share the concepts that felt most practical to me, and also where I think we should use them carefully rather than treating them like laws of nature. What I appreciated is that Collins doesn't make greatness sound glamorous. Most of the work is quiet, repetitive, and visible only after the results begin to compound. The first finding that genuinely caught me off guard is what Collins calls level 5 leadership. The leaders behind the Good to Great transformations were not usually celebrity CEOs with enormous personalities. They combined intense humility. Here doesn't mean low confidence or avoiding hard decisions. These leaders were ambitious, but their ambition was directed toward the organization rather than their own image. They accepted responsibility when things went wrong and gave credit to other people, good luck, or circumstances when things went right. Collins describes this as the window and the mirror. Effective leaders look out the window to assign credit and into the mirror to assign responsibility. Less effective leaders often reverse it. This idea matters because a company built around one heroic personality can become dependent on that personality. Results may look impressive while the leader is present, then collapse after they leave. A level 5 leader builds systems, develops successors, and makes the organization stronger than their own reputation. You can use this personally too. Ask whether you want the project to succeed or want to be seen as the person who saved it. Those motives can produce very different behavior, especially when credit, blame, and succession are involved. I had to sit with the window and mirror idea for a while, because it's easy to admire humility and much harder to practice it when credit or blame is actually being assigned. The next principle is first who, then what. Collins uses the image of a bus. Before deciding exactly where to drive it, get the right people on the bus, the wrong people off, and the right people in the right seats. At first, this seems backwards. Shouldn't a leader set the vision first and then recruit people to execute it? The research suggested that the best leaders created a strong team before locking themselves into a detailed direction. Markets change. Strategies fail. If the right people are present, the organization can adapt without falling apart. The phrase right people can sound cold, so the book adds an important distinction. Great companies were rigorous, not ruthless. Ruthless cultures repeatedly cut people as a substitute for thoughtful management. Rigorous cultures make standards clear, avoid letting uncertainty drag on forever, and put their best people on their biggest opportunities rather than their biggest problems. For a small team, this principle means character and learning ability matter at least as much as a perfect resume. For an individual, it means the people around you shape what becomes possible. A brilliant plan can't compensate indefinitely for a team that lacks trust, discipline, or ownership. For me, first who is less a hiring slogan than a reminder that the quality of the people around a plan often matters more than the elegance of the plan itself. Good to Great companies confronted brutal facts, but they did not surrender their belief that they could prevail. Collins connects this to Admiral James Stockdale, who survived years as a prisoner of war. Stockdale held two ideas at the same time: absolute faith in the eventual outcome and absolute honesty about the present reality. This is not positive thinking. In fact, False optimism can be dangerous because it encourages people to explain away bad data. The practical question is how leaders create a climate where the truth can be heard. Collins recommends leading with questions, encouraging dialogue and debate, conducting autopsies without blame, and building mechanisms that make critical information impossible to ignore. Imagine a product losing customers. A weak culture asks, how can we make the numbers look less alarming? A disciplined culture asks, what are customers telling us that we don't want to hear? The second question may feel worse today, but it creates a chance to improve tomorrow. The Stockdale paradox is one of the strongest ideas in the book because it avoids two extremes. Cynicism sees the facts and gives up. Naive optimism protects hope by denying the facts. Real resilience does both jobs. See reality clearly and keep working toward a better outcome. This balance between hope and brutal honesty may be the idea I trust most in the whole book. It works in business, but it also works in ordinary life. The Hedgehog Concept is the book's framework for strategic focus. It comes from the old image of a fox that knows many things and a hedgehog that knows one big thing. Great companies developed a simple concept at the intersection of three circles. First, what can you be the best in the world at? This is not the same as what you want to be best at, and it may not be your current core business. Second, what drives your economic engine? In a company, that means identifying the denominator with the greatest impact, such as profit per customer, per location, or per employee. Third, what are you deeply passionate about? The useful part is the intersection. Passion without capability becomes a hobby. Capability without a sound economic engine becomes unsustainable. Profit without passion may produce short-term performance, but rarely creates enduring energy. For an individual, I would translate the three circles carefully. What could you become unusually good at? What creates real value that people will support? What work keeps pulling your attention back because it matters to you? You don't answer these questions in an afternoon. Collins describes the hedgehog concept as something discovered through disciplined dialogue and evidence, not invented in a branding meeting. The three circles are simple enough to remember, but they aren't quick to answer. That's probably the point. Real focus is discovered through evidence, not announced in a meeting. Once a clear direction exists, the company needs a culture of discipline. Collins is not talking about bureaucracy or a controlling boss. In fact, bureaucracy often appears because an organization lacks the right people and clear standards. A disciplined culture gives responsible people freedom within a consistent framework. One of the most memorable tools is the stop doing list. Most organizations have plans for what they will add. Few decide what they will deliberately stop. But focus has no meaning unless it excludes something. If the hedgehog concept says a project doesn't fit, discipline means saying no even when the project is attractive, fashionable, or profitable in the short term. This applies directly to personal productivity. A long to-do list can hide the fact that your attention is spread across too many priorities. Ask which activities are consuming energy without serving your central goal. Then remove one before adding another. Discipline is not intensity for a few weeks. It's consistent behavior over time. The companies in the study did not become great because everyone worked in permanent emergency mode. They created habits and boundaries that made good decisions repeatable, even when nobody was watching. The stop doing list was the part that made me look at my own schedule. Saying something is a priority means very little until another attractive option gets a no. The book treats technology as an accelerator, not a creator of momentum. Great companies did not chase every new technology because it was new. They selected tools that fit their hedgehog concept and used them with discipline. When the underlying direction was weak, technology often accelerated confusion rather than solving it. Then comes the flywheel, perhaps the book's most famous image. A huge flywheel barely moves when you first push it. You push again and again. Each turn builds on the previous one until momentum becomes visible. From the outside, people ask which single action caused the breakthrough. From the inside, there was no single miracle. There was a cumulative process. The opposite is the doom loop. Launch a new program. Demand immediate results. Lose patience. Replace the leader. Change direction. And start again. Every reset destroys accumulated momentum. This idea feels especially relevant in a world obsessed with viral moments. A channel, business, or career often grows through dozens of improvements that look insignificant alone. Better research, clearer communication, stronger hiring, more consistent publishing, and careful customer feedback all add force to the same wheel. The question is not, what will transform us overnight? It's, what useful push can we repeat long enough for momentum to compound? And this is where the book's ideas finally connect. The right people, a clear focus, and disciplined action all keep pushing the same wheel. Good to great is powerful, but it should not be read as a guarantee. Some companies praised in old business books later struggle. Industries change, leaders leave, and luck matters. Historical research can reveal patterns without proving that every pattern causes success in every context. The best way to use the book is as a set of questions. Are leaders building the institution or building their own image? Do we have the right people in the right roles? Can bad news travel upward without punishment? What could we genuinely become exceptional at? What should we stop doing? Are we building one flywheel or repeatedly restarting? My biggest takeaway is that greatness looks less dramatic from the inside than it does from the outside. It's humility paired with determination, honest facts paired with hope, focus paired with exclusion, and small disciplined actions paired with patience. You don't need to run a public company to use that. Choose one area that matters. Define the people, standards, and direction it needs. Remove work that doesn't fit. Then make another intelligent push on the flywheel today. Greatness may eventually look like a breakthrough, but most of the time it begins as a decision to become slightly more disciplined than you were yesterday. Before you go, tell me what you think in the comments. Which idea feels most useful in your own work right now? Level 5 leadership, the Hedgehog Concept, the Stop Doing list, or the flywheel? If you enjoyed this summary, subscribe to One Book in 10 Minutes. We turn the world's most valuable books into clear, practical lessons you can use in real life. One book, 10 minutes. Better you.